with Alert Day coverage now. This is Wave News.
Well, good Monday morning as we say hello to you. Josh Ninke in the Storm Tracker this morning. Olivia Russell is live in Seymour, Indiana. We'll be checking in with them. Brian Good is out in the weather garden. Let's start things off with Tawana as people are maybe just waking up. They want to know how much snow came down and what to expect for today, Tawana.
Yeah, it just depends on where you are. Some of you have seen around 5 inches of snow. Others have seen close to 9 inches of snow, and the snow is coming down again in many spots. By the way, a side note, for those of you who tend to get aches and pains and migraines when you have substantial lows moving through, you're most likely going to be dealing with that today. I woke up with a migraine, so I know how it is. Just make sure that you're prepared for that on top of the snow that we are dealing with. Also keeping an eye on all of that snow now taking over southern Indiana. A lot lighter for those of you in Jasper, but it's a pretty decent, heavier snowfall from Bedford to Salem to Palmyra, all the way over towards Madison. For those of you further to the south, from LaRue County through Hardin County and back into the metro, we're starting to see some more of that snow. Now in portions of the metro, it's a little bit of that drizzle, a little bit of some sleet mixing in, but as you head further to the north, seeing more of those flakes flying. And then further to the east, from portions of Oldham County through Henry County into Franklin and also up towards Carroll County, you're seeing some of that sleet, some freezing drizzle still going on in your area. So over the next 12 hours, we're just going to be talking about that snow throughout the rest of the morning as we're seeing that transition happening right now. More of that widespread, especially heavier snowfall expected for the latter portions of the morning. Then we're going to gradually watch everything pushing to the east as you get into the afternoon. Now, for those of you furthest to the south that were above freezing, you're starting to see temperatures dropping a little bit more while we are still well below freezing, mainly in those low 20s in southern Indiana. Wind chills becoming more of a factor now that the wind is starting to pick up, with more of us feeling like the teens, especially the low teens, the further north you are. Some single-digit wind chills already showing up in some spots. Going to keep those wind chills in the teens throughout the rest of the day. Actual temperatures just hovering in the 20s. Now here's something that we have to watch. The wind gusts as the rest of the day goes along, because we're right now seeing some of these wind gusts near 20 miles per hour. But as we continue throughout the rest of our Monday, we're going to see those winds increasing a bit. With some of these gusts near 30 miles per hour as we get into the late morning and the afternoon, we can start to see some issues increasing even as the snow starts to decrease across the area, Brian. So we could be talking about more power outages as the snow moves out.
Exactly. In fact, I was just checking. Part of my neighborhood just went into the dark about 10 minutes ago. So I'm hoping that I have power when I get home. But it's just one of those setups where this is likely going to be getting worse on the power outages than better, just because of the combination that we've had. And of course, that wind that Tawana has been talking about. Here in the weather garden, we've got a little path for us here that we've made. But we've got that combination of that snow, the 9 inches of snow, then of course the sleet, freezing drizzle. Now we're back to really, it is a flurry and a little bit of sleet at times. I've been bouncing off my jacket here into the weather garden. But let me show you what some of the freezing rain has done. This is out here into the weather garden itself. I'm kind of walk slow here and take you to our street lights. Always love looking at the street lights. So they're a really good example of really seeing the glistening of some of the ice. And look at that here in downtown Louisville. I would say that's probably about 2/4 to a quarter inch of ice accretion that we've had here in downtown on the branches. And that's the problem. When the wind starts ramping up, all those branches that are coated in that ice will begin to knock around. In some cases, even like we have here in the weather garden, we have power lines very close to this. So be aware of that as you venture out here this morning. It is quite slick where I've been walking. It may not look like it here. It may look like it's been shoveled, and it's fine, but this is very, very slick right now, and it's that combination, again, that sleet and freeze and rain kind of layered like a cake as you venture out. So be careful walking out to your car. If you haven't touched your car at all in the past couple of days and you're walking out for the first time, not only do you have to get the snow off of it, but you're going to have likely a layer of ice as well. So allow a lot of time if you have to venture out, and of course, take your time as you venture out on the roads as well. Shannon?
Very true. In fact, Ryan Hoke made an excellent point. He said, if you park outside, that you should take your ice scraper out yesterday, so you could run into some problems. We know so many school districts are closed, including the largest in our area, that's JCPS, so those kids are likely at home and sleeping. Maybe they can go sledding later today. It's a traditional snow day, so they do not have to jump online to do any instruction. You can see the full list of all of these school closures on wave3.com, and we're also scrolling them for you on the bottom of our screen too. So we're going to be feeling the impacts of this for several days now. People are being told to not leave their house unless they absolutely have to. That's coming from state and local leaders in both Kentucky and Indiana. And Josh Ninke has been in the storm tracker this morning taking a look at road conditions throughout the area, and you're on an interstate right now.
We're about to head on to Dixie Highway. That's we're on Dixie Highway, about to head onto the Waterston. That's exactly right, Shannon. Wanted to show folks what things look like when you're getting onto the interstate. So here we are pulling onto Dixie Highway. You can see a little bit of snow falling at this point. We've seen several emergency snow plows and police officers taking this route that we're on as well. So as we're pulling off here, you can see they've done a pretty solid job of keeping these interstates, the on-ramps themselves, and the actual interstates pretty well plowed and treated. So here we are starting to get up. As I mentioned, you can see that snow's coming down, starting to put another layer on what we're seeing here. So we're pulling up and things are pretty fine. Again, we've seen a little bit of traffic out this morning. It's begun to pick up a little bit more as we've continued on throughout the morning. I would show you a little bit of a different view from our roof cam here on the storm tracker, but like just about everything here, it is absolutely frozen and can't move. So that's what we got. But yeah, you can see we've got a few vehicles that are out here on the interstate already. We're taking things nice and slow. My photographer Flynn being an excellent driver for me here today, doing a great job. He even picked me up this morning because my car was frozen in to the street, so it didn't have much of an option. But yeah, so here again, your best view of the interstate. Things are pretty fine once you can get here. But again, getting to the interstate like this is the hard part. So please don't get out unless you absolutely have to this morning. We're going to keep checking out the metro and seeing what we can find. We're hearing reports of an area that might not have been treated, but we're going to go see what we can find out for you. Live here in the Storm Tracker, Josh Ninke, Wave News.
Thank you, Josh. Good to see those interstates looking pretty good. And this is a look right now at the Indiana Department of Transportation. And you can follow along, too, to check out the work that snowplows are doing throughout the area. If you want to see this, it's 511in.org. And Olivia Russell and her photographer went to Seymour, Indiana last night. They went yesterday afternoon. Let's check in right now to see how things are looking with Olivia.
Hey, Shannon, we drove up here last night. Had some issues getting out of the metro, but things got better the further north we got up 65. We're keeping a close eye on I-65 right now, seeing some semis driving. Seems like they've slowed down just a little bit because earlier this morning they seemed to be having no issues with it, but we're getting reports that things are getting worse on the interstate, especially along Bartholomew County, where we're hearing a report of on I-65 of a jackknifed semi. So certainly don't want to be too confident on these roads. Just want to make sure you all are taking it slowly if you absolutely have to head out. And that's the only reason you should head out if you are emergency personnel, because right now they are under the highest warning level travel advisory. So the state of Indiana saying if you can stay home, please absolutely do that, because we've been here again since yesterday and we have just seen nothing but constant snow coming down. A little bit of ice yesterday, but now just snow. And I can tell you it's about shin deep for me. So as these crews are coming through here and trying to get things plowed, there's still more snow coming down. So they're doing great work out there right now, but still plenty of more work to do. Now, as I said, interstates looking a little bit messy. Tipton Street, a little bit messy. They're doing great work there, but it's the side streets that we keep saying will give you issues, and they will be treating those side streets. So the city of Seymour is saying if you can, make sure you are not parked on the sides of the roads. Give them plenty of space to come through there, do that work, and get these roads cleared out. So they want to make sure everyone is safe. And again, if you can stay home, that's going to be your best bet. Reporting live in Seymour, Olivia Russell, Wave News.
Thank you, Olivia. And as the wind is picking up, we're seeing more people losing their power. Taking a look at LG&E right now, they have about 20,000 people that they're trying to restore the power to. And if you have a fallen power line in your neighborhood, try to report it. Don't go near it, though, because it could be live and could be deadly. But they say they are out there working on things, and this is how they prioritize it.
From a restoration standpoint, we'll prioritize that. We'll start with the emergency areas, the hospitals, the schools, and nursing homes, so forth. That's on our prioritization plan. And from there, then we'll go to the broken equipment and the transmission lines down to the lines that serve the homes.
And KU also looking at some power outages too in that area. And you can check with both of those websites to see how they're progressing, how they're restoring things. But again, 20,000 people out of power right now for LG&E. Kentucky Cooperative Maps shows that some people are out of power right now, more than 50,000 without power. Some of the counties with a higher number of outages include Spencer, Meade, Nelson, and Bullitt counties. And we're watching the electric companies in southern Indiana, taking a look at Duke's outage map. Not as many issues in Indiana as in Kentucky, but again, we're expecting more snow and the winds are picking up. Shelters have been working to keep those without a home warm. They're operating under Operation White Flag right now. The Salvation Army, one of the places helping people. It's available for single men and single women. And then they have the check-in that happens every night from 6 to 10 p.m. You can also reserve by calling 637-2337. A reservation is not required, but it guarantees a bed. And I actually spoke to them earlier today. They said they were at full capacity right now. And again, the day shelter is open from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Wayside Christian Mission also helping people. They accept families as well, and check-in is available as long as Operation White Flag is in effect. They work on a first-come, first-served basis, and they have capacity for about 200 people with mats for the first 100. Oldham County has some warming shelters available too. They may not all have people operating them, but you can give them a call if need be. These are some of those locations where you can check out to get a warming shelter. You can also contact Oldham County Emergency Management to get any help. All right, we have more snow coming down. How much could come down over the next 12 hours?
Well, it depends on some parts of wave country, but we could see up to near 4 inches of additional snowfall as we continue through the rest of this morning. Now, we'll gradually dry out this afternoon, but it's going to be cold. It's going to be windy across our area, and we'll be talking about even more snow trying to show up later on this week. I'll break down everything we're going to be seeing after the break.
It is now 6:11 and still to come on Sunrise. We're following all of the impacts on our area from the snow and what could be coming next. Stay with us right here.
Now, Wave News.
Oh, we're watching this weather situation. How many people had chili yesterday, right? I saw so many people were making chili or soup.
We missed out on this.
That sounds really good right now.
Yeah, I did have some chili, and I made a soup. Yeah.
Oh, where's the leftovers?
I know, right?
That's when it's even better, because then you heat it back up. So.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll be making some soup and chili and talking about more of that snow.
Yeah. How are
as
the
well. sledding
conditions for the kids today?
Honestly, once you get through that layer of ice, it will probably help it out. But in some cases, the ice might make you move faster than you want to with that layer on.
Not like Christmas Vacation?
Yeah, you don't.
Okay.
You don't want that,
Okay.
Brian. But we still have the winter storm warning in place across the region all the way through this evening, as we are still watching the impacts of all the snow, the ice that we've seen. The storm tracker out on the Waterston Expressway, you can see things look a little bit better in this spot than what we were seeing as they were passing by Poplar Lover Road. So keep in mind, not every part of every interstate is perfect, so you want to make sure that you're still taking it slow. Here's all that snow now enveloping our southern Indiana counties, and where you see more of that blue is where the snow is coming down a little bit heavier, and that does stretch into Hardin County, LaRue County, Bullitt County, now starting to get in on some of the snowfall, and over the metro as well, especially right over the Jefferson Memorial Forest and the airports, where we're seeing some of that heavier snowfall as of right now. Still seeing that switch over happening for those of you further to the east. Still a little bit of that light freezing drizzle still showing up from portions of Franklin County into Spencer County, but now is when everybody's going to get in to the snow as this low continues to push further and further to the east. So your temperatures are mainly in the 20s in most spots, but those of you south of the parkways, this is where some of that warmer air really just pushed into your area overnight. That's why you're still hovering near that 30, 32 degree mark to start off your day. Wind chills for many of us in the teens and the low 20s. If you have more snow on the ground, you're probably going to feel a little bit colder, so keep that in mind. Also talking about that wind, now gusting to near 20, 25 miles per hour in many spots, and with these 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts expected throughout the day, they're going to really cause some more of these issues, especially in those locations that we've seen the icing happening. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, especially in terms of power outages. But now we're talking snow across the entire region. Going to keep more of that snow around throughout the rest of the morning, and it's not till this afternoon that we finally see everything moving out of our area. Temperatures not warming up very much today. Going to stay in the 20s, keeping those wind chills in the teens. Now for later on tonight, we are going to watch our temperatures dropping quite a bit. So how much more of this ice are we expecting? Well, now that we're tapering off with some of that ice, we could have seen up to around 1/10 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch in many locations. But the main focus for the rest of the morning will be the snow accumulation. For those of you along and north of 64, you could see an additional 2 to 4 inches of snow this morning. And for those of you further to the south, around 1 to 2 inches of snowfall. Once we head into tonight, if you think it's cold now, wait until then, because we're going to be talking about those temperatures down into the teens and single digits. These are actual temperatures getting into tomorrow morning. If you have more snow, you're going to be colder. Going to do our best to warm up into the mid-20s for tomorrow, but that's it. Now, we are going to be substantially colder Wednesday and the Thursday. Highs only in the teens. Now, keep in mind that 19 degrees is for the Louisville Metro at the airport. That means everybody else is going to be talking more like 13, 14, 15 degrees for a high for those 2 days. Now, for those of you heading out maybe early Thursday morning, you have to be out and about then, we're going to be waking up to temperatures near or below 0. So even colder as we get into early on your Thursday. Now we do warm up on Friday, going to put that in air quotes, as we deal with some more snow coming our way then. This area of low pressure off towards our south is going to be driving off towards the northeast. As it does so, it'll bring some more of that snow our way. If you get into Friday and Saturday, and certainly could be impactful depending on the timing and the track of this system. So we'll be watching a lot for the end of this week. Now, as we get into the weekend, we watch the snow tapering off. Our temperatures are going to try to even approach the freezing mark, but depending on how much snow we get on Friday, that's questionable. And once we get further into the middle of next week, we could see another system bringing more snow. A friend of mine said she did a snow dance. I told her to stop.
I need to learn that dance.
I was like, please stop doing that. We're good for now.
Hey, you guys know I love snow, but when you get this combination with ice, this is where it isn't fun at all, because it's you can have four-wheel drive, but you got icy roads. It's a lot more of a challenge for sure out there.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, Indiana, you were talking about how the radar just blossoming there. Well, you can see already we're getting a lot of the traffic that's starting to show up now. Not exactly a big morning commute. A lot of places are closed and schools out. So a lot of slow traffic in the area, but a couple of accidents. One right there at portions of, say, Veterans Parkway, and also on 31 southbound as you get very close to the 2nd Street Bridge. There was a crash there, and the second one was located near Court Avenue on 65 northbound. But there's additional problems, and Olivia was alluding to this earlier about what she's been hearing. She's up there in Seymour about 65 heading out of Jackson County into Brown and Bartholomew counties, and you can see there is certainly some problems have been developing on I-65 and on US 31 as well. So if you're heading north, there's no doubt the snow does pick up heavier, and it is colder, and it may not seem like 21 degrees versus 27, 28 is a huge difference. It is in these scenarios, and it will ice up the roads and make them very, very slick. Here's a look at the Indiana tri-marks, and these were all clear on the roads not long ago, and you can see how they're just becoming snow covered, including the Lee Hamilton once again. Even I-65 with the icicles hanging down in front of it near Eastern Boulevard, showing it's back snow covered again. It's a thin coating of snow, but with that thin coating of snow, you're going to be sliding around as this moves to the area. So please just take it slow out there. Here's another ramp we've been showing you as well. This is the Waterston at 71. We've been looking at this since about 3 o'clock this morning, and it's been mainly clear. That ramp has been treated several times and even plowed a couple times by the snow team here in town. But now it's starting to get back to being slightly snow covered. So there's no doubt over the next 1 to 2 hours, really all the way through about 12, 1 o'clock today, the roads are going to likely get a bit worse. So if you don't have to travel again, please do not do so, all right? Use some caution out there. Stay with us. We got much more coverage of our first winter storm of 2025 here on Sunrise. Coming up next.
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots. The Kentucky Lottery, over $5 billion in grants and scholarships.
Good morning, 624, and if you are planning on catching a flight today out of Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport, you might run into some trouble. Take a look right here. You can see so many flights have been canceled going to many different parts of the country. Canceled going to Minneapolis, canceled to Atlanta, canceled to Detroit, which they're celebrating the Lions win last night. So a lot of cancellations. If you're trying to escape to someplace warmer, many of those flights are also canceled too. So good luck. Hopefully you'll have better luck tomorrow or later on today. But we are expecting even more snow today. Let's go to Tawana right now for details.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on everything going on in terms of the snow falling and the impacts that we're going to see. The storm tracker still out on the roads. I think it's on Hurstbourne Parkway as of right now. You can see everything pretty plowed and clear, but with the additional snow coming down in many spots, that's just going to add on top of what's already been cleared. And those crews are working very, very hard this morning, so shout out to them. We're continuing to watch that snow taking over southern Indiana with some pretty heavy snow just coming down in the very western portion, of Jefferson County, Indiana. So right to the southwest of DuPont is where we're having some pretty heavy snow south of Comiskey. Now also in the metro, seeing some more of that snow coming down a little bit heavier near the Clifton neighborhood and towards Highlands and even towards Okolona. So keeping an eye on those totals there. Now for those of you in Oldham County over to Henry County, you're starting to see more of that snow too, stretching through Bullitt County down towards E-Town and Hodgenville with some lighter snow in Breckenridge and Grayson counties. Your temperatures are still in the 20s in most spots with a few 30s south of the parkways. And some of these wind gusts right now are near 15 to 20 miles per hour. So they have tapered off just a bit, but we are expecting the wind to pick up as we head into the latter portions of the morning. So with some of these gusts near 30 miles per hour, that could cause more power issues, especially in those areas that have seen significant amounts of icing. So we're talking along and south of 64. Let's talk about the rest of the day. We'll see more of this snow continuing to push through throughout the rest of the morning, heavy at times. And once we get into the afternoon, the snow will be moving off towards the east. Notice your temperature staying in the 20s throughout the day, but with the wind, we're going to feel more like the teens. Now, as you look ahead to the next couple of days, we do see highs in the 20s, low to mid 20s tomorrow. And for your Wednesday, will only be in the teens, and that is it. And Wednesday and Thursday will be some of our coldest days this week before we could see additional snowfall coming our way on Friday. And Friday is already an alert day. Shannon.
Okay, thanks, Tawana. We're staying on top of winter storm coverage. A live look right now. This is from our weather garden where you see those flurries coming on down. Brian Good measured 7.5 inches of snow that came down in our weather garden yesterday. We'll have much more coverage coming up. We are waking up to snow and ice and more of it coming down. A live look right here from our storm tracker as we say good morning. Many of the kids still in bed sleeping because so many districts decided to cancel. And when you saw that road, probably a very, very good call. This is a live look right here from Floyd's Knobs. And Tawana, you were talking about all these little dots.
Yeah, that's the snow. That is coming down right now. And that snow's actually becoming heavier in many spots. So that's a concern for anyone who has to travel this morning. It's not just the slick roads, but now visibility issues are coming into play, and that's making things a little bit more treacherous as you're heading out. So yes, the storm tracker out and about on our roads. You see this particular roadway plowed everything off towards the sides, but as we have more of the snow coming down, we can see things getting slick again in many spots. Here's what we're seeing on the radar, mainly talking about that snow all across southern Indiana. And for those of you in very western portions of Jefferson County in Indiana near DuPont, that's where you're seeing a little bit of that heavier snow there. Also watching more of that snow just coming down in the metro from Prospects towards the Highlands and even towards Mount Washington, getting in on some of that snow. Same thing right along 71 in Oldham County. So that's where we're looking at a little bit more of those visibility issues, especially in those spots on 71 where there's not any lights. We're also keeping an eye on a little bit more of that snow towards Trimble County, Henry County, south through Spencer County towards Bardstown, Eatstown, Hardensburg, Litchfield. Seeing more of that snow. So here we go again. Over the next 12 hours, talking about that snow becoming more widespread, especially as we get into the latter part of the morning, because there's a big band of snow off towards our west that has yet to come into our area. So yeah, we're going to be seeing more of that snow before things finally start to dry out for later on this afternoon. The wind right now around 20 miles per hour for some of these gusts, and we're going to watch the wind picking up as the morning goes along. In fact, we can see some of these gusts approaching 30 miles per hour. So that means your actual temperatures today going to be in the 20s, but we are going to feel like the teens as we get into the afternoon. So if you're going to be heading out and about, if you have to head out and about, that is what you want to dress for. And we could see an additional 2 to 4 inches of snow throughout the rest of this morning into the afternoon for those of you along and north of 64. We're closer to around 1 to 2 for those of you further to the south of 64. But everybody getting in on more of that snow right now, and one of those people is Brian Good, currently out in our weather garden. How things looking and feeling out there? I want to know how it feels, Brian.
Well, I mean, I don't feel anything because I'm full of just joy at the moment of the snow outside. It just warms my heart. No doubt, if you've been watching, the snow has really picked up. And in fact, there's a couple of flakes been smacking me in the face. Ends up being one of those things where it hits you right where your contact is. And anyway, it just gets to be a mess. I mean, you need goggles when you come out here. But anyway, it is a pretty sight for sure. I mean, this is where we usually have our fountain going, our decor that is set up. And the snow, I don't want to walk. I've already messed up the pretty snow side. I'm one of those people that doesn't like to mess up the pretty snow. But anyway, I don't want to walk toward that area. But the snow is built up. In some areas, again, we saw 9 inches of snow from the first round on Sunday. And if you have close to that now, you could get another 3 inches today, which means some of you could have easily a foot of snow by the time we get into lunch today that'll be out your window. Not at all locations will see that, but some of you will. So quite the winter storm for sure. But we still got the ice there. 20 miles about the wind. Just checked, Indianapolis is now gusting to 40 miles per hour. Widespread power outages there. That's something we'll have to watch carefully. But no doubt, this snow, this pathway, if you're watching too, relatively clear. But you can already see my footprints of the new snow that has fallen on. It's a little more on the fluffier side. But here's the thing. When you get your scraper out and you're thinking you've got nothing but fluffy snow to take care of off your car or you're going to use the brush, well, think again, because you walk outside. Yeah, it's just nothing but ice-covered snowfall. Well, that's no fun, and it's really going to slow you down if you're not ready for it. So allow some extra time as you venture out this morning, Shannon.
Absolutely. Brian, thanks. The governor declared a state of emergency yesterday, concerned about the road conditions. So let's take a look at how the road conditions are this morning. Josh Ninke is in this storm tracker, but Josh even had problem getting out on his road. He couldn't.
You're exactly right, Shannon. I could not get my car out. I live in Germantown, and I do street parking, and unfortunately, no matter how hard I tried, my little Chevy Malibu was just iced in to its spot. Thankfully, my photographer, Flynn, here in the storm tracker came by and picked me up this morning. So if that's your situation, which I know is going to be for a lot of folks, please give yourself some grace, and it's going to be hard to get out today. Now, we're on Hurstbourne Parkway, which I'll go ahead and tell you is one of the best spots that we've seen out here throughout the day. We've cruised all around, lots of Bardstown, downtown, Dixie Highway. A lot of the main thoroughfares are just fine. We were even on the Watterson for a little bit. We did see one vehicle that was broken down in the middle. There was thankfully a police officer who was out there helping them out. But this is what you'll see when you get to the main thoroughfares. But a reminder, it is very tough to get to these spots. I'm going to go ahead and pull up our roof camera is broken because it is frozen on over here, but we've thankfully got a phone camera that I can show you a little bit going on here off to the sides. You can see there is just everything is just absolutely covered in snow, and it is just a bumpy ride as you get going. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and take this right, Flynn, and see what we can get going here. I believe this is Stony Brook. We're hearing some possibilities that this might be in a little bit of trouble and not treated, but let's see here. Yeah, let's take the front camera again. You can see things are just fine here on at least part of this. But again, it's tough. There are certain patches of these roads that have not done great. We've seen plenty of plows. We've seen plenty of trucks that are out treating. But a reminder, even though it might look nice right here, nice being a relative term, it's still not great out there. So please take your time out there today if you have to get out. But again, it might be very hard for you to get out of your spot unless you've got a nice garage or a driveway that you've taken some good time to take care of. So please be careful out there today. Live here in the Storm Tracker, Josh Ninke, Wave News.
Thank you, Josh. We've been watching the numbers from LG&E as the day progresses. We started off this morning with about 13,000 people without power with LG&E, and now it's up to 20 because the wind is picking up. So there are some warming centers people can go to if they do lose power and they need to stay warm. There are two available. Hope International AOH Church of God on Algonquin Parkway will be open from 9 to 5, and Exodus Family Ministries located on Cane Run Road. They're open from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. They're open Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as well from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And warming spaces, too, at some neighborhood places. We have more details on wave3.com. And let's check in with Tawana right now. And wow, some people get a foot of snow. Isn't that crazy to think about?
Yeah, honestly, if I went out there, you'd probably lose me because I'm so short. So I'm staying inside for that reason. But yes, we're continuing to keep an eye on more of this snow falling. I'm seeing so many of your reports of you starting to get power outages, especially even towards Ghent in Kentucky. So we'll be watching this as the morning progresses. Getting into the afternoon, that is when that snow is finally going to stop, with temperatures still sitting in the 20s down, but feeling more like the teens. Of course, we have more snow on the way as we get towards the end of the week. So I'll talk about how things are going to evolve as we head over the next 10 days after the break.
More than 60 million Americans are dealing with this winter weather. Indiana, of course, one of those states, too. Olivia Russell is there live right now in Seymour, where that snow is really coming down.
I know, Shannon, I think throughout the morning I've told you that it was coming down pretty hard, but now those snowflakes are even bigger. It's coming down harder, and boy, is it cold out here. But I want to show you how much snow we have just by stepping over here. It's just about shin deep on me. I'll leave the snow totals up to our meteorologist, though. But yeah, pretty deep in this snow. Hopefully it doesn't get in my boots. But hey, let's talk about traffic, because we're keeping a close eye on I-65. It looks like traffic has slowed down this morning because we're hearing reports from Indiana State Police that things are starting to get worse on I-65. Even a report of a jackknife semi just north of here. So we're keeping a close eye on that. But the main road here in Seymour, Tipton Street, that one is looking okay. Doesn't look like people are having too many problems, but hey, that's not what we're talking about here. It's those side roads that will cause you issues. And also keep in mind that right now the county is under a red warning level when it comes to the travel advisory. That means that travel should be restricted to only emergency personnel. We've seen some Indiana State Police troopers come through here and heard some sirens, so they are definitely out here, and those snow plows are working very hard. We saw them out here yesterday. They haven't stopped since, so they are definitely doing their best to get things cleared out here. But yeah, I think it's time for me to get back in the car and get warm. Reporting live in Seymour, Olivia Russell, Wave News.
Thanks, Olivia. And our news director just came into the station, came in earlier, but he said it took him 45 minutes to scrape the ice off his car, broke an ice scraper, broke a windshield wiper. So this is why they're saying just stay home.
Yeah, just stay home. You don't have to deal with all of that extra stress. I know some people have to let the dogs out, so be extra careful with that as well. I've heard some dogs having a few adventures this morning, so be extra warm and careful. Now we have more snow already falling. Yeah. I'll talk more about the totals that we're going to see for today, plus the snow that's coming our way for Friday as well in just 30 seconds.
The nursing home was supposed to keep your loved ones safe, no exceptions. Even in extreme circumstances, the basic standards must be met. No excuses. Bed sores, broken bones, malnutrition, and dehydration are just some of the warning signs of a nursing home that's not doing what they're supposed to do. If you suspect your loved one is the victim of nursing home neglect, get Hughes and Coleman and get it done. Call 800-800-4600. The safety of your loved one is all that matters.
Good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Juana Andrew here with a check of your forecast, and we are watching this massive low pushing across the country, and it's the reason that we've seen the sleet, the snow, the freezing rain across our area over the past 48 hours. And what we're dealing with right now, as this low moves further and further to the east, this big swath of snow that's off towards our west, that still has to move through our area. So we are not done just yet. We are watching that snow, though, gradually taking over our region. Most of that snow falling in southern Indiana. Now, where you see those blues, that's where we're seeing moderate to heavier snowfall, and that's causing some issues on many roadways. A little bit lighter for those of you in Meade County south towards Grayson County, but it's still coming down, especially towards the metro. This is where we're seeing some of that heavier snow starting to fall, those big fat flakes as well. So that's going to cause some visibility issues as the morning goes along. From LaGrange to Bedford to Carrollton, you're getting in on some of that snow. A little bit lighter, mainly flurries in the portions of Shelby County. So more and more of us are really dealing with that snow taking over, and it's easy to see why we have that winter storm warning still in place all the way until this evening. The storm tracker doing its thing, continuing to travel across wave country, and right now is on Hurstbourne Parkway. You can see this area plowed and salted pretty well, but with the snow continuing to fall down, that means things are going to get slick even in spots that have already been treated. Our temperatures range from 23 degrees in Bedford to 27 in Frankfort, 30 for those of you in Litchfield, in our warm spots, Munfordville through Lebanon and down towards Columbia, currently at 32 degrees. But the wind is coming into play, and we're starting to see more of these wind chills in the teens and low 20s to start off your day, with some of these wind gusts between 15 and 20 miles per hour. Now, we're going to keep the wind as part of the forecast throughout the day, which is not a good thing, because what it's going to do is help to shake up everything that's already been iced over, and that could lead to tree limbs snapping and potentially power outages as those winds gust to near 30 miles per hour through the late morning and into the afternoon. So we'll be watching all of that. Of course, with the alert day, here's what we're expecting: more of that snow moving in as the morning goes along, and some of the snow will be heavy at times. Once we get past lunch and into the afternoon, this will exit off towards the east, eventually allowing us to see some drier conditions. And once we head into tonight, we can see some clearing, but still keeping some of these clouds overhead for the overnight hours, and that will allow our temperatures to drop getting into tomorrow morning. So as you continue throughout the rest of the day, we can see an additional 2 to 4 inches of snow. This is on top of the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 inches of snow that many of us have already seen. And then for those of you further to the south, talking on another 1 to 2 inches of snowfall in your area. I mentioned it getting very cold into tomorrow morning. We'll be waking up to temperatures in the single digits and the low teens. Let's hope the wind is calm. Otherwise, we're going to be dealing with some crazy wind chills getting into tomorrow morning. Once we head into your Tuesday, talking about more of these highs in the mid-20s, some teens showing up for highs for Wednesday and Thursday as a quick system kind of reinforces that colder air. And that means on Thursday, a lot of us, especially those of us with more snow on the ground, will be waking up to temperatures at or below the, really not just the freezing mark, but below 0 across our area. So it is going to be very cold getting into your Thursday morning, the coldest temperatures that we're seeing on the 10-day as of right now. The alert day in place for Friday as we see yet another system, this one tracking off towards our south. So that means we're going to be on the northern fringes of it, bringing us a better chance for that snow across the area for Friday into portions of our Saturday. We'll keep an eye on the timing and the track of this low, because it will be key to the potential for snow cover across the area, which is showing up yet again. Here we go. Getting further into the weekend and next week, we do see those temperatures trying to climb a little bit more, returning to the upper 20s and potentially some low 30s, depending on how Friday goes. And as we get into next week, we can get more of that snow coming our way. But I was mentioning the visibility issues, and that's something something that a lot of people, if they have to go out, will be dealing with more of that snow coming down right
Especially right before we get to the daylight part of the day, those flakes falling from the headlights can be a little mesmerizing. The Star Wars effect,
Yes.
right? That
Looks
comes in play.
cool, but not what you
I
want.
still have melted snowflakes all over me. The droplets.
do?
They're all over the place out
Wow.
there. So yeah, there's some big flakes. So use some caution. The roads are getting covered up, and that's leading to some traffic issues as you venture out. So that's a look right there at portions of 65 near Seymour. We've been talking about that. Here's 65 as well as you get close to Court Avenue into Clark County. Also, as you head closer to the 2nd Street Bridge, a lot of slow traffic. There's no doubt that Indiana seems to carry some of the worst of the travel issues right now in the metro when it comes to Lee Hamilton, I-65, and 31, all the way past the Memphis exit, all the way to Indianapolis. In fact, the rest of the metro, it looks worse, but in reality, a lot of that is just very slow traffic triggering the sensors as people are going by there. Here's what you can expect as we head throughout the rest of the day. We're going to keep it at the cold red level here for travel conditions. Travel not advised. You got an icy glaze. You got slick roads. We got additional snow falling, snow-covered roads taking place as well. And then as we head through Tuesday and Wednesday, the side roads, unless they are treated, and in many cases, a lot of neighborhoods will not have access to have those treated, they will remain slick as we're going to the deep freeze for a while. But main roads will do quite well, especially if they can stay ahead of the snow today. We'll be watching it. All right, stay with us. We've got your Wake Up watch list to help you get through this day, whether it's on the roads or in your living room. Next.
So many school districts closed, including JCPS. So many roads have snow, ice over them. Let's get a check right now with Josh Ninke, who is in the storm tracker, has been taking a look at things. And you say it's mostly the side roads that have the issues.
It is very much the side roads, Shannon. That's exactly right. Right now, we're here on Taylorsville Road. They've done a pretty good job of plowing just about everything and having the roads treated. But you can see it's still not exactly great. One of those situations where you don't want to be out here if you don't have to be. And a reminder, if you are getting out, please scrape all the ice and snow off your car that you can, including the stuff on top. Even though it's not blocking your view, you don't need that flying off and hitting anybody if you have to take a quick stop. You see vehicles in front of us, since we're stuck at this red light, are going very slow, and I would recommend doing exactly that on any of your travels that if you have to take them. I got stuck. I couldn't even get to the station. Storm Tracker had to pick me up from my spot, so you might even be stuck wherever you're at this morning already. So please stay home. Please don't take any chances today. We certainly don't need it. We've seen more than a few vehicles that have gone off the road and just been stuck. So that's what we're seeing here in the metro. Olivia Russell's up in Seymour, Indiana. Olivia, what are you seeing right now?
Josh, a whole lot of snow. Feels like a snow globe out here in Seymour. But when it comes to travel, you shouldn't be doing that. And that's why most of southern Indiana is actually in a red warning level travel advisory. That means that travel should be restricted to only emergency vehicles out there on the roads. Indiana State Police is reporting that conditions on I-65 are getting worse as we speak. So if you can, stay home, leave the travel to emergency vehicles. And all those snow plows, they are working very hard out here. We have seen them all morning. But again, snow still coming down, so things are only going to get worse. But meteorologist Tawana Andrew can keep us updated on how long the snow is going to last.
Yeah, and I saw a couple of the snow plows, as you were mentioning them, moving right behind you there, Olivia, as we're watching more of that snow taking over in Indiana. That's something we'll keep a very close eye on. Now, as we continue, of course, across the area, watching more of that snow moving in from the west, and keep in mind this will become more widespread as the morning goes along. We're sitting in the 20s and low 30s across the region this morning. Most of us just going to stay in those 20s as the day goes along, with that snow for the morning drying out as we get into the afternoon and getting very cold as we head into tonight. The wind will also be a factor for today, with some of these gusts approaching the 30-mile-per-hour mark. That means our wind chills are going to stay in the teens. And a quick look at your 10-day, what we have going on right now. Some cold conditions for the rest of the week, and another alert day for more snow on Friday. Brian?
All right, thanks, Tawana. Here's one of the examples of problems when it comes to the weight of some of that ice in the trees. This is on I-264. The Waterston very close to 71. It fell, the branch did, at least close to the interstate ramp, but it didn't land on it. But that's some of the things we got to watch as that wind ramps up. Here at 65, take a look at that. That is very close to the Arthur Street area. It was really clear, but now it's starting to get a little bit more on the slick side. You can see the salt crews are at least out and about. Hats off to them.
Yes.
12-hour shifts nonstop.
Oh,
Wow.
for sure. They've been doing a great job. We'll stay with Wave News for the very latest on the impacts.
Get live streaming news